Humans were the newest species in the galaxy. They arrived late to the galactic community. Other species had been traveling between stars for millions of years. Humans had only been doing it for a few hundred. They were young, curious, and eager to make friends. Everywhere humans went, they smiled. They asked questions. They wanted to learn about other cultures, other species, other ways of life. They offered help freely. They forgave easily. They never held grudges. Other species noticed this. At first, the exploitation was small. An alien trader would charge a human double for a part, claiming it was the standard price. The human would pay, smile, and leave. Later, when they learned the truth, they would shrug and say, "Well, I needed the part anyway." An alien politician would ignore human concerns during council meetings, moving on to other business without discussion. The human delegates would wait patiently, hoping for their turn. When it never came, they would leave quietly and try again next time. Alien bullies would push humans in spaceports, take their places in lines, mock their primitive technology. The humans would step aside, apologize for being in the way, and find another line. This happened everywhere. On every world, in every space station, at every meeting. And humans always reacted the same way. They smiled. They forgave. They moved on. Across the galaxy, a reputation grew. Humans are harmless. You can cheat them, and they will not complain. You can ignore them, and they will not protest. You can push them, and they will step aside. They have no pride, no anger, no fight. They are the perfect species to take advantage of. Some species felt guilty about this. Others felt nothing at all. A few enjoyed it, but all of them believed the same thing. Humans would never fight back. Humans would always forgive. Humans were safe to push as far as anyone wanted. They were wrong. What the galaxy did not understand was simple. Human patience was not weakness. It was not fear. It was not inability to fight. It was a choice. A conscious decision to forgive, to understand, to give second chances. Humans believed that everyone deserved a chance to be better. They believed that anger solved nothing. They believed that peace was worth preserving. But there was a limit. Every human knew this. They learned it as children, sitting on their parents' knees, listening to old stories. You can forgive many times, parents taught. You can be patient. You can let things go. The world will push you, and you can step aside. Again and again and again. They would look into their children's eyes. But there comes a moment when you have given enough chances. A moment when patience becomes permission. A moment when you must stop stepping aside and stand your ground. The children would listen carefully. In that moment, you say 6 words. Now you have really pushed it. And when you say those words, you must mean them. Because everything changes after that. No alien had ever heard those words. For centuries, humans had been patient. They had forgiven. They had stepped aside. They had given chance after chance after chance. Aliens assumed this would continue forever. They did not understand that human patience was a gift, not a guarantee. They did not realize that every insult, every cheat, every push was being remembered. Not with anger, just with awareness. The scale was tipping. Somewhere, on some world, a human was reaching the limit. Somewhere, patience was running out. Somewhere, a human was about to say those 6 words. And when they did, everything would change. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. On a small human colony called Green Valley, a farmer named Elias Stone sat on his porch, watching his daughter play in a field. She was 7 years old. She loved running through the tall grass, chasing butterflies, picking flowers for her mother. She had never hurt anyone. She did not know how. In the sky above, karate ships passed low, buzzing the colony, showing off their power. They did this every day now. Their soldiers sometimes landed, walked through the farms, took what they wanted. Food, tools, whatever amused them. Elias watched them. He said nothing. He did nothing. But inside, something was counting. Something was keeping track. Something was waiting for the right moment. He did not know when that moment would come. He did not know what would push him past the limit. But he knew, with absolute certainty, that it would come. And when it did, he would say those 6 words. And he would mean them. Green Valley was a peaceful place. Rolling hills covered in crops. Small homes dotting the landscape. Children playing in fields. Families eating dinner together under the stars. It was everything humans wanted when they left Earth to build new lives. The Karate Empire wanted it. Not because they needed it. They had hundreds of worlds, thousands of farms, more land than they could ever use. They wanted Green Valley because it was beautiful, because it was peaceful, because humans had built something nice, and the karate wanted to take it. That was what they did. They took things. The harassment started small. Karate ships would fly low over the colony, engines roaring, shaking windows and scaring animals. Farmers would look up, shake their heads, and go back to work. Then the ships started landing. Soldiers would walk through the farms, ignoring fences and property lines. They would take vegetables from fields, fruit from trees, sometimes tools from sheds. They would laugh while doing it, watching the farmers watch them. The farmers did nothing. They complained to galactic authorities, who sent polite messages to the karate. The karate ignored them. They complained again. Nothing changed. They asked the karate soldiers to stop. The soldiers laughed harder. Day after day, week after week, the harassment continued. Crops were stolen. Equipment was broken. Fences were torn down. The soldiers grew bolder, knowing there would be no consequences. The farmers endured. They hoped things would improve. They told each other to be patient. The children played in a field on the edge of the colony. It was their favorite spot. Tall grass to hide in. Wildflowers to pick. A small stream to splash in. They ran and laughed and played games, innocent and happy. The karate soldiers found them there. A group of 5 soldiers, bored with stealing crops, decided to have some fun. They approached the children slowly at first, then faster. The children saw them coming and froze. The soldiers did not hurt them. Not physically. They chased them, running after the small humans, shouting and laughing, watching them scream and flee in terror. It was sport to them. Entertainment. The children ran as fast as their little legs could carry them, crying, terrified. One soldier caught a small girl by her shirt, held her for a moment, then let her go with a shove. She fell, scraped her knee, and kept running. The soldiers laughed harder. When the children finally reached the colony, they ran straight to their parents, sobbing, shaking, unable to explain what happened. Elias Stone was fixing a fence when his daughter ran to him. She was 7 years old. Her name was Lily. She loved picking flowers and chasing butterflies and helping him in the garden. She was the light of his life. Now she ran into his arms, crying so hard she could not speak. Her knee was bleeding. Her clothes were torn. Her small body shook with terror. Elias dropped his tools and held her. Lily, Lily, what happened? What's wrong? She buried her face in his chest and sobbed. It took a long time for her to calm down enough to speak. When she finally did, her words broke something inside him. Daddy, they chased us. The bad men. They chased us and laughed and we ran and I was so scared. I thought they would catch me. I thought they would hurt me. She looked up at him with wet eyes. Daddy, why do they keep hurting us? Why don't you stop them? Elias held his daughter and felt something change. For months, he had been patient. For months, he had told himself to endure, to forgive, to hope things would improve. He had watched his crops stolen, his equipment broken, his neighbors threatened. He had done nothing. He had told himself it was the right thing, the peaceful thing, the human thing. Now he held his crying daughter and knew the truth. Patience was not always right. Forgiveness was not always possible. There came a moment when enduring became enabling, when hoping became hiding, when peace became cowardice. This was that moment. Elias looked up. His wife stood in the doorway of their home, watching, her face pale. Other parents had gathered, holding their own crying children. They all looked at Elias, waiting. In the distance, the karate soldiers walked back toward their ship, laughing, slapping each other on the back. They had enjoyed their sport. They would be back tomorrow for more. Elias spoke quietly, calmly. His voice did not shake. Now they have really pushed it. His wife heard him. The other parents heard him. Something passed between them. An understanding. A recognition. The patience was over. Elias stood up, still holding Lily's hand. He looked at the other parents. At the farmers. At the neighbors who had endured the same insults, the same thefts, the same fear. Gather everyone, he said. We have things to discuss. No one asked what things. They already knew. They had been patient long enough. Now it was time for something else. No one noticed when Elias spoke those words. Why would they? Humans said things all the time. They complained. They asked. They pleaded. They never did anything. The karate commander received a report about the incident with the children. He read it, laughed, and threw it away. Children crying. How amusing. The galactic news feeds did not mention Green Valley. It was just another day of humans being pushed around. Nothing special. Nothing worth reporting. The galaxy moved on, unaware that something had just changed. Elias made one call. Not to Earth's military. They would take weeks to respond, and they would probably advise patience anyway. Not to galactic authorities. They had proven useless again and again. He called other farmers, other colonists, other humans who lived on worlds like Green Valley. Worlds where they had been pushed too far for too long. He told them 6 words. Now they have really pushed it. Then he waited. They came. Not soldiers in uniform. Not warriors with weapons. Farmers from distant colonies. Teachers who had been cheated by alien traders. Mechanics whose shops had been stolen. Parents whose children had been frightened. Grandparents who remembered old stories about patience and its limits. They came in small ships and large ships. Old ships and new ships. They brought tools and vehicles and determination. They brought something else too. Something that had been building for centuries. Something that every human carried inside them but rarely showed. A deep, stubborn, undeniable refusal to be pushed anymore. They did not attack immediately. Elias gathered them in a large barn on the edge of the colony. Farmers and teachers and mechanics sat together on hay bales, listening. "We have been patient," Elias said. "For years, we have been patient. We forgave. We stepped aside. We gave chance after chance." He looked at each face. "They took our crops. They broke our equipment. They chased our children. They laughed while doing it." Nods around the room. "Now the patience is over. Now we do something else. But we do it smart. We do it together. We do it right." 4 days, they prepared. Farmers knew the land better than anyone. They planned where to set traps, where to hide, where to attack. Teachers studied karate patrol patterns, looking for weaknesses. Mechanics worked day and night, turning farming equipment into weapons, vehicles into war machines. A thresher became a weapon. A harvester became a barricade. A crop duster became a surveillance drone. They used human creativity and human stubbornness. They built things the karate had never imagined, because the karate had never faced farmers before. Karate scouts saw the preparations. They watched from a distance as humans moved equipment, built structures, gathered in groups. They reported back to their commander. "The humans are doing something, sir. Moving things around. Gathering together." The commander laughed. "Doing what?" "Building a bigger barn. Planting more crops. They are farmers, not soldiers. Ignore them." "But sir, they seem organized. Determined." The commander laughed harder. "Determined farmers. Oh, this will be entertaining. Let them prepare. Let them hope. It will make breaking them even more fun." The scouts laughed too. Farmers playing soldier. How pathetic. How funny. Elias sent one message. It went directly to the karate commander's ship. Short. Simple. Clear. "Leave now. Go home. This is your last chance." The commander received the message and laughed until tears came to his eyes. "Listen to this," he broadcast to the entire sector. "A farmer threatens the karate empire. He says leave now or else. What will he do? Throw vegetables at us?" His laughter echoed across the galaxy. Other species picked up the broadcast. They listened. They chuckled. Poor humans. So weak. So pathetic. So funny. Imagine, farmers threatening an empire. What would they think of next? On Green Valley, Elias heard the laughter. He stood in the barn with the others, listening to the commander's broadcast echo through the galaxy. Around him, farmers and teachers and mechanics listened too. No one laughed. No one smiled. They just looked at each other, understanding what the galaxy did not. The laughter would not last forever. The patience was over. And soon, everyone would know it. The karate soldiers marched toward Green Valley. They moved in formation, weapons ready, armor gleaming. Hundreds of trained warriors who had conquered worlds and crushed rebellions. They laughed as they walked, remembering the broadcasts, imagining the fun ahead. The humans would run. They always ran. They would hide in their little homes and beg for mercy. It would be entertaining. The commander watched from his temporary base, a smile on his face. This would be a good story to tell. The day farmers thought they could fight. Then the first trap triggered. The ground opened beneath the front line. Soldiers fell into deep pits, hidden under thin layers of dirt and grass. At the bottom, not spikes or weapons, but thick mud. They struggled to climb out, stuck, helpless. Before others could help, nets fell from trees. Heavy nets woven from strong rope, trapping groups of soldiers where they stood. Then the humans appeared. Not in formation. Not with uniforms. Farmers in work clothes, carrying tools that had been modified into weapons. They moved fast, hitting trapped soldiers with stun rods and tranquilizer darts. Not killing. Disabling. Within minutes, dozens of karate soldiers were down. The rest retreated, confused and frightened. The commander watched the reports in disbelief. What is happening? They are farmers. How are they doing this? No one had answers. The next wave moved more carefully. They scanned for traps. They watched the trees. They moved slowly, cautiously, learning from the first group's mistakes. The humans adapted. They appeared where they were not expected, behind rocks that seemed too small to hide anyone, from holes in the ground that appeared out of nowhere, from trees that soldiers had already checked. They used the land against the invaders. They knew every hill, every stream, every patch of forest. They had farmed this land for years. They knew it better than anyone. A group of soldiers stopped to rest near a small pond. The water exploded as humans rose from beneath the surface, gasping for air, then attacking. Soldiers fell before they could raise weapons. Another group entered a barn, looking for supplies. The doors slammed shut behind them. Gas filled the room. They collapsed, unconscious, before they could break out. The humans did not fight like soldiers. They fought like people protecting their homes. Like people who had been pushed too far. Like people who had nothing left to lose. The commander watched his forces fall apart. His soldiers were trained for open battle. 4 lines and formations and direct confrontation. They did not know how to fight enemies who came from nowhere and disappeared just as fast. Who used the land itself as a weapon. Who never stopped, never gave up, never ran. He called for reinforcements. No answer. He tried another frequency. Silence. He tried every channel, every relay, every backup system. Nothing. His communication was dead. Every relay, every satellite, every link to the outside world had been destroyed or blocked. He was alone. The commander sat in his temporary base, staring at silent screens. Around him, his remaining soldiers waited nervously. They could hear sounds in the distance. Not weapons. Just movement. Presence. The feeling of being watched. Then the door opened. Elias Stone walked in. He wore simple farmer's clothes. No armor. No weapon. His hands were empty. His face was calm. The commander stared at him. Then he laughed. A desperate, angry laugh. You, a farmer. You think you can defeat the karate empire with traps and tricks? You think this changes anything? He raised his weapon and pointed it at Elias's chest. Elias did not flinch. Did not step back. Did not even look at the weapon. He looked at the commander's eyes. You should have left when I asked. The commander's finger tightened on the trigger. Then something hit him from behind. Something heavy. Something unexpected. One of his own soldiers, a young karate who had been with the unit for years, tackled him to the ground. The weapon fired into the ceiling. More soldiers turned on their commander. Not all, but enough. Enough to stop him. They had seen enough. They had watched humans fight with a fury they did not understand. They had felt traps close around them. They had realized something important. These humans were not weak. They were not pathetic. They were not funny. They were the most dangerous thing the karate had ever faced. It ended quickly after that. The commander was taken. His remaining loyal soldiers surrendered. The invasion of Green Valley was over. Elias stood outside the base, looking at the captured soldiers, at the humans who had fought so hard, at the colony he had protected. His daughter ran to him and hugged his legs. Daddy, you did it. You stopped them. He knelt and held her. We stopped them, sweetheart. All of us together. She looked up at him. Will they come back? He thought about the question. About the lesson the karate had just learned. About the message that would spread across the galaxy. I do not think so, he said. I think they finally understand. He looked at the sky, at the stars beyond, at the galaxy that had laughed at humans for so long. I think they finally understand. The fighting stopped. Karate soldiers who survived were gathered and held. Not in prisons, just in an open field with guards watching. They sat quietly, confused, afraid. They had never lost before. They did not know how to process it. Those who could flee did. They ran to their ships and launched into space, not stopping until Green Valley was far behind them. They carried stories. Stories of farmers who fought like demons, of traps that appeared from nowhere, of humans who would not quit. The news spread across the galaxy. Humans fought back. Humans won. Farmers defeated trained soldiers. Other species could not believe it. They demanded proof. They sent observers to Green Valley to see for themselves. The observers arrived expecting something else. They expected hidden military bases, secret weapons, underground bunkers filled with soldiers. They expected to find that humans had been lying all along, hiding their true strength. Instead, they found farms, rolling hills covered in crops, small homes with vegetable gardens, families eating meals together, children playing in fields. They walked through the colony, looking for evidence of military power. They found none. Just farmers, just families, just ordinary humans living ordinary lives. At the end of their visit, they asked to speak with Elias Stone. Elias met them on his porch. He was older now, his face lined from years of work. He wore simple clothes, dirty from the morning's labor. He looked like what he was, a farmer. The lead observer, a being from a neutral species, asked the question everyone wanted answered. How did you do it? How did farmers defeat trained soldiers? Elias was quiet for a moment. He looked out at the fields where his daughter played, at the hills where traps had been set, at the sky where karate ships once filled the air. Then he spoke. You do not understand humans, he said. You have watched us for centuries. You have seen us forgive insults, accept cheating, step aside when pushed. You thought this meant we were weak. He paused. It meant we were patient. There is a difference. The observers listened carefully. We give second chances, and third chances, and hundredth chances. We believe everyone can be better. We believe peace is worth preserving. We believe forgiveness is strength, not weakness. His voice hardened slightly. But there is a limit. There is a line. When someone pushes us past that line, something changes. We stop being patient. We stop being forgiving. We become something else. He looked directly at the observers. Something that does whatever it takes to protect what we love. The observers had no questions after that. They returned to their ships and spread the message across the galaxy. Human patience is a choice. Human forgiveness is a gift. Neither is guaranteed. And when that gift is taken for granted, when that choice ends, safety ends with it. Across the galaxy, things began to change. Species that had cheated humans stopped cheating. Politicians who had ignored human concerns started listening. Bullies who had pushed humans around found other things to do. The story of Green Valley spread everywhere. So did the fear. Not fear of human weapons. Not fear of human soldiers. Fear of something deeper. Fear of what happens when patient people finally run out of patience. They learned to stop pushing. Years passed. Green Valley healed. Crops grew again. Homes were rebuilt. Children played without fear. Elias sat on his porch one evening, watching the sun set over the fields. His daughter, older now, stronger, happier, played with friends in the same field where she had once been chased. She came to him when the game ended, breathing hard, smiling. Daddy, will anyone ever try to hurt us again? Elias looked at her, at the young woman she was becoming, at the strength in her eyes. I do not know, sweetheart, he said. There will always be those who think they can take what they want, who think they are stronger, who think we will not fight back. He put his arm around her. But if they do, they will learn the same lesson. The same lesson the karate learned. The same lesson the galaxy learned. She nodded, understanding. She ran back to her friends. Elias watched her go. Then he looked up at the sky, at the stars where other species lived, where other species watched and wondered and feared. He thought about the message that had spread across the galaxy, the story of farmers who fought back, the lesson that patience had limits. He whispered to himself, softly, so no one else could hear. Now they know. Now they all know. The sun set over Green Valley. The stars came out. And somewhere in the darkness between worlds, the galaxy remembered. Remembered what happened when you pushed a human too far. Remembered the line that should never be crossed. Remembered the 6 words that changed everything. Now you have really pushed it.